friends, and welcome to my kitchen. My name is Miss Nuccia. I'm from the Winfield Public Library, and today we are making homemade cream of tomato soup, and we are making Southland Cheese Rolls, otherwise known as South Island Sushi. Isn't that exciting? When I was a little kid, I used to go to the neighbor's house and she used to make the most amazing tomato soup, and she used to make us cheese sandwiches. And I thought I was in heaven. Nobody could make tomato soup like the neighbor next door. And so when I was looking up what was traditional and what is very commonly eaten on a regular day in New Zealand, I saw this recipe, and right away I thought of when I was a kid and just how warm and soothing and just how delicious it was. And I thought, let's do this recipe for New Zealand. And the sushi rolls, I think that's going to be a fun little treat. So we are going to get started. I already chopped up a nice big onion, nice and fine. We're going to saute our onion in 2 tablespoons of olive oil and 2 tablespoons of butter. We are going to use 4 cups of vegetable stock, and right in this bowl I have 1/3 cup flour. We're going to add a little bit in here, and we're going to make it nice and smooth before we add it to our soup. I don't have 12 tomatoes. It asks for 12 tomatoes. And right now I thought, well, I'm just going to use crushed tomatoes. It's just as good. And it asks for 5 tablespoons of tomato paste. It asks for a cup of cream and a cup of regular milk that we add at the very end, the cream and the milk. So let's get started. And then while this is cooking, we're going to start on our sushi rolls. So let's go to the stove. So I'm at the stove now, and I'm gonna start the flame. Gonna add my 2 tablespoons of butter, my 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and my onion finely chopped up. And I'm going to saute the onion until the butter's melted, and should take a minute or 2. In a minute, we'll add our tomatoes in there. Did you look to see where New Zealand is, boys and girls? You should go look on a map. New Zealand and Australia are very similar. They have a lot of the same recipes too. Starting to sizzle. We'll let it cook for a minute, and I'll be back just before we put the tomatoes in. Our onions are getting nice and golden, and now I'm going to add the whole can of crushed tomatoes. There's no point not using it all. So I decided to use the whole 28 ounces. And now we're just going to let it cook for about 10 minutes. Okay, so it's been simmering for 10 minutes. I'm going to add 5 tablespoons of tomato paste, 1, and you don't have to be so precise. 2, 3, 4, and actually I'm going to put the whole can in. I hate wasting. I'm going to stir it and let it cook for a minute more. I'm going to lower my flame a little bit. And now I'm going to add a little bit of the stock to my flour. So you see I have my flour here. I'm going to add a little bit of stock, vegetable stock, and I'm going to stir it. I think the clumps are about out. I'm going to slowly put it in my soup. Stir it up. And if you have a little bit of a clump, don't worry, because I'm going to blend mine at the end, and I'm going to put the rest of my vegetable stock. So we used 4 cups of of vegetable stock. We're going to let this cook a little bit, and then I'm going to puree the mix before we add the rest of the ingredients. Give it a nice stir, and we're going to let it cook a few more minutes. So we'll let it simmer 30 minutes before we do anything else. So I'll be back in 30 minutes. So the tomato soup has simmered for about 32 minutes, and it feels nice and silky. Now, I should be removing it from the stove and using my stick blender, but if I do that, then I have to move my camera. So I thought, okay, I think I'll use my stick blender right where it is, shut off my flame, and use my stick blender in place. So normally I do this in the sink. I would recommend you do it in the sink too. So now I'm going to add my cream. I'm not going to wait. I'm going to do it now, and then I'm going to start on my Southland rolls. My milk, I just used 2%. My sugar, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and just a little bit of salt to taste. I'm going to stir it all up. Oops. Oh, looks gorgeous. I'm going to heat it up for a minute. Doesn't need very much. But look at the color. Oh, smells delicious. And I'm going to let it heat up. I'm going to turn off the flame and start on our Southland cheese rolls, or the sushi. Okay, I'm very happy the way it looks. Can you see? Look how the color just looks gorgeous. Okay, another stir. Beautiful. Okay, so let's go back to the table, and we're going to start with our other recipe. Let this warm up a little bit more. I'll cover it, and we'll serve it in a few minutes. Beautiful. So now we're ready to make our sushi, our South Island Sushi, or our cheese rolls. So we're going to need half a package, just half of one of the packages in the onion soup mix. So I already divided one package, and I got like 2 tablespoons out. We're going to need 1 chopped up onion, I already did that. It asks for 9 ounces of cheese. I've got 8. That is good. We're close enough. And I'm using sharp cheddar cheese, reduced fat. And we're just going to combine everything into the pot. And then we're going to go to the stove and just cook it all up. My seasonings in for that. 7 ounces of Nestle Carnation evaporated milk. That's almost the whole can. 6, about 7 ounces. I'm going to put that in. And the whole package, it calls for 8 ounces. This is good. I'm going to do 7. And now we're going to take this mixture to the stove and we're going to just cook it until it's nice and thick and blended together. And we're going to use just regular sandwich bread and we're going to spread the cheese blend on the bread and we're going to roll it and we're going to broil it in the oven. So now let's go to the stove. Now I turned my flame on to about medium. I'm going to cook it till it's nice and smooth. It'll take a little bit, but can you believe they sell this at fairs and school fundraisers? And just, it's very popular. It became popular in the 1920s. And like I said earlier, it reminds me when I was a kid and I had my cheese sandwiches with my tomato soup. So I thought this would be perfect. It's starting to melt. As soon as it's nice and blended, we're going to take it to the table and we're going to spread it on our bread. I'm going to turn on my broiler. Put your broiler on your oven. Okay, I forgot to do that, so I just put my broiler on. I love learning about other countries and you know what I've been learning? That a lot of the things, a lot of the recipes, a lot of the ingredients overlap. I grew up in Canada believing that tomato soup was just for people in Ontario. Look how nice it's. Looks like a nice thick sauce. So I hope you give this a try and look up New Zealand. We'll be doing crafts next week. And I hope you pick up a kit. It's so much fun to learn about other cultures and other people. It's almost done. And my soup is right there. I can't wait till my sushi is done so we eat supper tonight. It's almost done. See? Then we'll go to the table and we'll spread the cheese on the bread. We'll roll it up and broil it a few minutes on each side. So my cheese sauce is nice and hot, and I took a spoon And I'm going to try to spread it nicely. Just put it on. It's covered it nicely. And then we're just going to take this and we're going to roll. It's not perfect. I think I would have been better off with a square bread. But I think it's going to be delicious regardless. And the kids will like doing this. Just roll. Last one. Still has a bunch on the cheese on the plate too. Okay. It'll easily do 14 slices. So they were in my broiler for less than 5 minutes, and I'm going to turn them over. I did cheat, and I threw the extra cheese. I didn't want to waste it, and I threw the extra cheese on top, and I think it looks lovely. I'm going to turn it over. You're supposed to turn them over now and broil the other side. And I'm going to put it back in the oven for another 5 minutes or so until they're golden. And while that's happening, I'm going to set the table and bring out the soup. Okay. Back into the oven they go. The Southland Cheese Rolls or the Island Sushi Rolls are ready. They look amazing. Oh, and they smell so good. So let me get the soup and I'm going to set the table for our lunch, supper. Okay, I'll be back with my soup. My cheese rolls are ready, or shall I say my sushi rolls. My soup is ready. I've already dished up my husband's. I'm going to dish up mine. And I can't wait to eat it. It'll bring me back to when I was a child and my friend would make this amazing soup that I could still think about so many decades later. Oh, it smells so good. So I hope you give the New Zealand recipe a try. Try the soup, try the sushi rolls or the Southland cheese rolls, and let me know what you think. I hope you enjoy this recipe, and the next recipe is going to be lolly cake. I can't wait to try the lolly cake with everyone. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope I see you soon. Bye, everyone.